We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Inshallah, we have another live show here on Wednesday evening, and we will be taking in your questions. So if you have a question you'd like to ask, you can send it in via the WhatsApp, email, or alternatively give us a call here in the studio, and inshallah, being the Sheikh, we'll be able to discuss your question. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, Sheikhna, over the last couple of episodes, we've been discussing Hajj. Inshallah, let's continue our discussion. And the first question I'd like to ask you is that if a mustati, person who is planning to go to Hajj, has the means to go to Hajj, if during the process he passes away, he dies, hasn't completed the Hajj, unfortunately he's died, with the inheritance money, should his children take a hissa, a part of it, the expenses for doing the Hajj on his behalf, should they remove that and then divide the inheritance, or should they divide the inheritance first?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. If someone was mustati' and he out of a sudden dies, the ajal came to him and he was taken to عالم البرزخ على كل حال. Death is a reality. And he's capable, he's got the means, he's got the money. Now that he has passed away, this money is the money for the inheritance. He doesn't own this money anymore. But because he was mustati' for the Hajj and he passed away, they should take from the inheritance money the amount of the cost of the Hajj. They give it to the na'ib, the one who goes on behalf of him and performs the Hajj rites, and then they can divide the inheritance to the rest of the heirs, or the ones who are, let's say, his children, for example. So first they take out the money of Hajj, and then they spread the money to those inheritors.
Ahsan. Sheikh, my next question is that if someone was a mustati in previous years, and didn't go on Hajj, but now is no longer a mustati anymore, is the Hajj mandatory upon him?
As mentioned previously, that if someone disobeys Allah Azza wa Jal while he is able to go to Hajj, he's got the means, he's got the money, he's fit for it in terms of the bodily, he's got no issues, he's got the passport, the way to Hajj is safe and secure, then he doesn't go to Hajj, it becomes obligatory upon him to go to Hajj at all costs next year. He must go in, so as I've said, even take a bus and go with the bus,
yes,
if it costs less. So the one should go to Hajj if they disobeyed Allah Azza wa Jal while they were mustati'.
Okay. Sheikh, we talk about being a mustati and having the ability and the criteria fulfilled to do Hajj. But what if you don't have the criteria? Is it mandatory upon us, to endeavor and to become mustati, to say to ourselves and to obtain the ability to become mustati? Is that mandatory upon us?
No, it is not mandatory or wajib to make yourself mustati', to force yourself to be mustati'. But it's good that the one plans for the Hajj, let's say from now, for next year, inshallah, that you gradually save some money, and by that time, inshallah, you paid the khums for this money, if it's khums was not paid for it. And then you have that money by next, let's say, year, just before Hajj time, then you spend on the Hajj. So the istita'a comes to yourself somehow, either by, as I've said, saving your money, or sometimes you get a grant or a gift or inheritance. Yes. Then you straight away you become mustati' in the situation, and then you have to basically go to Hajj.
Hajj, inshallah. Hassan. Shaykhna, earlier the first question I discussed was in regards to, someone dying and then someone performing Hajj on one's behalf. What if this person, the Na'ib, hasn't performed Hajj for himself? Is he qualified to actually perform Hajj on behalf of somebody else?
If he is not mustati', then yes, it is permissible. Let's say I want to go to Hajj for the first time in my life, but I'm not mustati'. So the way I do the Hajj is to by taking the niyabah from someone who is alive or dead, for example.
Yes.
So yes, I can go to Hajj and do the a'mal because I'm not mustati'. I can't basically have my own money and savings to make myself mustati' to go to Hajj. So yes, you can, even if it's your first time Hajj, to actually become a Na'ib on behalf of somebody else and perform the Hajj. So unless you become mustati', then of course you have to discharge this issue and actually go to Hajj as a Hajj al-Islam, your first wajib Hajj.
Sheikh, is the Hajj by proxy, is it conditional that the representative himself must be free from the obligation of Hajj al-Islam?
Again, just mentioned now, that is conditional. The one should make sure that he is not mustati' for the Hajj if he wants to take a niyabah for the Hajj. So again, if you're mustati', you cannot go for niyabah Hajj. You have to go by yourself. Now it's a wajib aini on you, self-obligatory on you, to go to Hajj and to perform the a'mal because you have the money, you have the means. If not, of course, you can take the niyabah and do it on behalf of your loved ones or whoever pays for the expense of the Hajj. On their behalf, you can go. Yes.
Inshallah. Shaykh, as you know, we always discuss different fatwa of different maraja. And we've had a question sent in via the WhatsApp, and the question is, just bear with me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, great show. I have a question in regards to the biha qurbani. According to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sistani, is it permissible for many pilgrims to contribute in one sacrifice in a mustahab Hajj? So we've got a mustahab Hajj. I don't think there is such thing called mustahab Hajj, it's probably Umrah. But okay, so a mustahab Hajj, and they want to do qurbani, and they want it on behalf of more than one person, so a group of people, maybe putting money together to have one dhabiha. According to Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, Hafadullah, what does he say about this fatwa? What fatwa does he have in this regard?
By the way, we have mustahab Hajj. You can go next year as a mustahab Hajj, and you do all the a'mal and the sacrifice and the trimming or even shaving and so forth. You can do all these a'mal mustahab, there's no issue with it. But with regard to contributing in terms of the sacrifice by many people, Ayatollah Sistani would not accept this act, and he says that it's not permissible. La yajuz. However, Ayatollah Shirazi would say that in the mustahab Hajj, it is permissible for many to contribute in one sacrifice. So it's opposite fatwa.
Yes.
Opposite fatwa. One is allowing and the other is not allowing. So you go back to your marja to see if you're allowed to contribute. Otherwise, you have to sacrifice by yourself, because this amal of Hajj, even mustahab, it's all done by one person, and all the amal is by you. The tawaf, the sa'i, and so forth, and the sacrifice as well, and the taqsir possibly. So it's all done by that individual. Let me mention a hadith with regard to the sacrifice or feeding people and so forth. The hadith from Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, an Abi Abdullah salamullah alayh, he says, من أحب الأعمال إلى الله, one of the best deeds in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal, one of the most liked a'mal that Allah likes to see. Number one, إشباع جوعة المؤمن, is to feed a believer who is hungry. In other words, to give food to those mu'mineen who are in need of food. إشباع جوعة المؤمن. Number 2, أو تنفيس كربته, or to relieve his anxiety and calamity. And somehow, let's say he's in court, you try to mediate and save him from either the prison or paying hefty penalty, for example. You try to save him from these anxieties and calamities. Number 3, أو قضاء دينه, or to pay his debts. He's in debt, especially with these conditions now, the pandemic issue. Many people don't have money to pay for the rent, mortgage, for example. They might be asked to leave their home, for example. You come and you pay all those debts on behalf of this individual. These are one of the best amal. أحب الأعمال إلى الله عز وجل. Allah likes to see a believer helping others in this cause.
Ahsan. Shaykhna, when we do the sacrifice on the day of Eid al-Adha, is it okay for it just to be a dhabiha, or can we combine, for example, like as you know, when we have a newborn child, we have an aqiqah. So can we do a dhabiha for the Hajj and the aqiqah together?
It is sufficient. Let's say somebody who has not done aqiqah in his own, in his life. Let's say his parents were poor. They couldn't do aqiqah when he was born. So it is sufficient when sacrificing the biha, what do you call it? Qurbani on the day of Eid of al-Adha, and that will suffices than the aqiqah.
Okay.
So that will cover the aqiqah itself.
What if it's a deceased person? Are we allowed to do it then?
Yes, again.
So an aqiqah for a deceased person.
In overall, it's mustahab to do the aqiqah for the individual, be it alive or a dead person. In overall, man or woman, old or a child or young, you can do the aqiqah. It's all mustahab.
Ahsan. Shaykhna, we did discuss about representing someone on Hajj and doing Hajj on someone's behalf. Is it okay for a female to represent a male and vice versa, a male to represent a female?
Yes, in terms of the niyaba of the Hajj, both cases are permissible, and you can actually represent the opposite gender. There's no issue. Let me just go back to the previous question about the aqiqah and sacrifice. Again, I have hadith from Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam. عن أبي عبد الله الصادق قال المنجيات. He says that there are 3 acts in which they are the acts of saviors. They save you actually from the punishments, from the hellfire and so forth. Al-munjiyat, the saviors are, number 1, at'am al-ta'am. Again, we're going back to the aqiqah, to the sacrifice, to the qurbani, that the one tries to feed the people. And of course, it doesn't mention only Muslims or only believers. At'am al-ta'am, that you generally give food away.
Yes.
And that's why Imam Sadiq himself, when he was in Medina, he used to come out in the middle of the night, in the dark nights of Medina, carrying a bag filled with bread, and in some cases bread, meat, and even a bit of money. And he would go and spread it towards those who are in poverty. And of course, in that time, the majority, or most of them, were Sunni population in Medina. So he would give these sadaqat to the Sunni poor people who were in Medina. Sometimes he would go to some areas, they sleep in the streets, in the corner of the streets. So he would put a piece of bread under the pillow. So imagine how the Imam alayhi salam used to take care of the masakin and the fuqara, even from the non-Shia. Al-munjiyat at'am al-ta'am, to feed, to give away food. Number 2, وَإِفْشَاءُ السَّلَامِ, to spread the salam, the greeting, or let's say to spread peace, in other words, to be peaceful with others. وَإِفْشَاءُ السَّلَامِ وَالصَّلَاةُ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ, and to pray at night while people are asleep. So 2 of these acts are social acts in public, and 1 act for yourself and between yourself and your Lord. That you pray, like namaz al-shab, in the night, dark night, in the middle of the night, and you remember Allah Azza wa Jal You ask Allah for forgiveness and so forth.
Ahsan.
So these are munjiyat. They save you from, let's say, adab al-qabr, punishments in, God forbid, in barzakh, qiyamah, and so forth.
Ahsan. Shaykhna, when it comes to the representatives of our maraja, do they act on the fatawa of their own marja or the fatawa of the marja they're representing?
When you perform the niyabah on behalf of someone for the Hajj, of course, there are ahkam. Now, this individual that you are actually representing in Hajj, because what happens when you do the niyyah, you have to mention the individual that I'm, let's say I'm wearing the ihram on behalf of niyabatan an fulan ibn fulan. When I do tawaf, I do the tawaf niyabatan on behalf of fulan ibn fulan. So I have to have this recognition that this Hajj or this tawaf or this amal is for this individual. So the ahkam, of course, as we just found out, there's a difference between Ayatollah Shirazi and Sistani about
certain ahkam.
Yes, certain ahkam, like the spreading the cost of the sacrifice.
Dhabiha,
Of course, the one who does the representing or the niyaba, he should follow his own alim when he does the ahkam. So within the tawaf, any question he asks his own alim, his own marja. When he goes to the sa'i, to sacrifice, to shaving, and so forth, he would ask his own alim, and not the alim of the one who is doing the hajj on behalf of.
Yes.
So he does the amal, and he has to follow his own marja about these ahkam.
The representative follows his own marja.
Exactly.
Not the marja of who he is representing. Excellent. Sheikh, if an individual dies between Arafat and Muzdalifah, does Hajj need to be performed again on his behalf?
Well, it is not obligatory, and that will be counted as Hajj, because I mentioned the hadith, I think a few episodes ago, that they asked the Imam alayhi salam, what does it mean of Al-Hajjul Akbar? And the Imam says Arafah is one of them. So the Hajj itself, one of them is Arafah, and one of them is Mina. So he was actually in Arafah, so he did his Hajj. So most importantly is the act of wuquf and standing and being in Arafah. That will suffice for this deceased individual to be counted as Hajj.
Ahsant. Shaykhna, we're going to go to a break now. Please join us after the break as we continue our discussion on Hajj, inshallah, and also discuss some of your WhatsApp questions. See us after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. This is a live show where we do take in your questions, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask, send it via the WhatsApp or the email address. Or alternatively, why not give us a call, and inshallah, the Shaykh will be able to discuss your question. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. Welcome back.
Assalamu alaikum.
Shaykhna, the next question is quite important, and it's something that we are all concerned about, is our female sisters in Islam that go towards Hajj. As you know, Hajj is very, very physical. It's a lot of people, and normally when our sisters go out, we always send someone there to help them, to aid them, to protect them. Now, this may be a mahram like her father, her husband, or her brother, and so forth. When it comes to Hajj, is it mandatory for us to send a mahram with the sister or with the lady, or can she go by herself in a group or something? Is that okay?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. No, she can go by herself if there is a safe and secure way towards performing the Hajj rites and rituals with the group, for example. Not necessarily to go with her relatives, or let's say husband or a brother or a father. I mean, I think the government there, they have strict rules about having a non-mahram woman coming alone, even within a group of women, they wouldn't accept it. So they try to show off that they're practicing Islam, but sadly, in overall Islamic countries, try to show the world that they are practicing Islam, but they defect in other parts. So in one side, they try to show that we are Muslims, we are practicing Islamic government system, according to the Sharia, but they're actually lacking in other parts. So, no, of course, she can go for the Hajj A'mal without any relative, but if she goes in a safe and secure way, that should be fine.
Okay, Sheikhna, got a question here from the WhatsApp, and it is, I'm 27 years and struggling to find a good proposal. I haven't been getting good potential candidates for marriage. I'm stressed and I'm in anxiety because of this. Also, stuck in some family issues. Can you suggest to me a'mal to get rid of all problems and get a good potential proposal?
One of the ulama was suggesting that, similar case came and asked this alim, and he was recommending that if this individual can read every day Dua al-Amn. Dua al-Amn is just after, I think, Dua Tawassul in Kitab Mafatih al-Jinan. In that section.
Yes.
The beginning of the book. So Dua al-Amn is a dua of the security. And actually repels the enemies of the calamities, the anxieties. It's a great dua. Less than a page length, and if the one can actually start before the dua, recites 100 times Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh, and then recites the dua afterwards, that would be great. One solution also to avoid committing sins and try to implement all the wajibat, a'mal wajibah, what has been instructed to do, for example, his salah, his siyam, and so forth, paying khumus, zakat, and so forth. Also, this alim used to recommend that, and he's got a story about this, that a man came to this alim and he said to him that I've got 4 girls in the age of marriage, but nobody's proposing and coming forward. So the alim said to him, ask your wife to hold weekly Husseini majalis, commemorating the Imams alayhi salam, majalis, and you will see that they will all get married very soon, inshallah. So after a year, he came back to the alim and he said, all of my girls, they got married.
MashaAllah.
In just under 1 year, they all got married, ببركة of the majalis al-Hussein alayhi salam. So if this individual wants to get married or to ease his situation, the calamities and so forth, there is dua, there is istighfar, there is taqwa, in other words, piety, observing piety, and also majalis al-Hussein alayhi salam. If the one can even have this majlis within his own family, you don't have to bring the Maulana or invite people, especially with today's pandemic. You can just do it by yourself, by your family. Bring poetry, for example, recite it, a dua, and so forth. Imam ziyarah and so forth. That inshallah brings the barakah to the household.
Ahsan. Sheikhna, certain schools of thought, non-Shia schools of thought, when they practice salah, they don't say Bismillah aloud. Is this acceptable according to the Jafri school of thought?
All the surahs, when they are recited in the salah, must start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you fail to recite Bismillah intentionally, you ignore the salah, like the non-Shia, some of the non-Shia, maybe the majority or less, who would say Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The Imam says the greatest ayah, they've dropped the greatest ayah of Allah Azza wa Jal. They dropped this great ayah. So if you fail to recite Bismillah, your salah will be all batil. The whole prayer will be batil. You have to repeat it again with the Bismillah. It's a criteria to have the salah valid.
Is it like saying that if you start without Bismillah, the surah is technically incomplete? And if the surah is incomplete, then obviously the salah is batil. Is it along them lines, or is it specifically to do with the Bismillah, saying that aloud?
Because we believe that Bismillah is part of the surah. You cannot differentiate or separate the Bismillah from the surah. It's part of it. This Bismillah is part of the surah. You cannot separate it. So the Bismillah is a must in the salah. And even when you read Quran, you have to start with Bismillah.
Yes.
It brings barakah, blessings. You start your a'mal your work, let's say, your food, your drink, and everything you do with the Bismillah, it brings barakah and khair to this individual.
Awesome. Sheikh, what about if it's a female or one of our sisters praying salah? Are they allowed to recite audibly loud?
Performing the salah for the male, it is wajib for them to recite audibly or loudly in Salat al-Subh, the morning, the Fajr. Of course, for the Hamd and Surah only. These are the main ones that you have to audibly recite these surah, Al-Hamd and Surah, in the first and second rak'ah. In Salat al-Subh and Salat al-Dhuhr,
Dhuhr
Salat
on
al-Maghrib,
Friday.
Maghrib and Isha.
Yes.
So, Subh, Maghrib and Isha, you as a male must recite Al-Hamd and Surah in the first and second rak'ah audibly, loudly. Dhuhr and Asr, you must recite them silently. Al-Hamd and Surah.
Apart from Friday.
Friday, of course,
Mustahab to
Dhuhr is
say,
mustahab that the one recites the Alhamd and Surah in Dhuhr only, on Friday, audibly. That's mustahab, of course. Mustahab.
But the others, you have to read them silently.
Exactly.
And for the sister?
For the sisters, they have two options. If they are alone, away from the non-mahram, they can recite the Subh, Maghrib, Isha, audibly as well. That's fine.
Okay.
But if they're in the mosque, in a public place where there are mahram next to them, then they have to recite them silently. So, again, this is something, mainly the wajib is for the brothers.
Shaykh, it's very famous and mashhur that the Islamic calendar is based on the lunar calendar. What is the lunar calendar? What was it based on? What does this mean?
When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi and his family, salamullah alayhim, immigrated from Mecca to Medina. So he moved from Mecca, his headquarters, his birthplace, to Medina because of the non-believers and mushrikeen who start to hate the Prophet, harm the Prophet, bodily harm. The blood used to pour from his back.
Indeed.
They used to stone the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Holy Prophet, with the order of Allah Azza wa Jal, he migrated from Mecca to Medina in Rabi' al-Awwal. So the Holy Prophet ordered that the system of the calendar of the Muslims to start from Rabi' al-Awwal of Hijrah. So our calendar should start in Rabi' al-Awwal. But sadly, when Bani Umayyah came to power, of course, they've changed this system, the calendar system, to Muharram. That's why when you ask a Muslim, when is your first or first day of
the new
year,
you
would say 1st of Muharram. And then the Ashura or 10th of Muharram is the celebration day, subhanallah. Celebrating, why? Because Allah, as they say, Allah saved Musa from the Pharaoh, from the sea, and He saved Nuh, I think, from being drowned, and so forth. And that's why they celebrate Ashura and they fast. Bani Umayyah played a big part to drive away people from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and the true history.
Religion. Yes.
Exactly. But the reality is that Rabi' al-Awwal is the month in which the Hijri calendar starts.
I see. Excellent. Gentlemen, last question in from the email. Is it permissible for the doctor to give his patient a medication on a trial and experimentation basis if the doctor thought the medication would be beneficial for the patient?
You see, it is not permissible to give a medication before one is confident. You cannot try medication on people. You might kill them, you might harm them, you might disable them, paralyze them, for example. You're not allowed to do so. You can't try testing medicines on people that could cause severe harm on them. So unless the one is sure about it, that, well, we've tried this on animals, now it's all safe and so forth, then we can try it on the human beings. Otherwise, if there's no issue with it, there's no harm, then of course they can actually use them on human beings. Otherwise, if there's any expected harm, then of course it's not permissible.
Understood. Thank you very much, Sheikh, and thank you for all those joining us today. Inshallah, we'll be back again on Monday with another show of Ahkam SOS. If you have a question that you'd like to ask us, and it can be on any topic, nothing is too silly or too taboo, send in your questions. We don't need to know your name or where you're asking from. Just send in the question. If you follow a certain marja, no problem. We do our best to contact the representatives and also to contact the official office of the different maraja to get you the fatwa that are affiliated to your question. So ask any question, send it via the WhatsApp, send it via the email, or alternatively give us a call on the live show, and inshallah, the Shaykh will do our best to answer your questions. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Gather queries of your chest with Ahkam SOS.